Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. District Attorney Brian P. Green, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Judge Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. Paul C. Master James William Jr. in Penn Court. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. This is a document that will arrive at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Todd Baxter to the Sheriff, at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office to the District Attorney in the next 24 to 48 hours that I sent today, registered mail, return receipt, the United States Postal Service, 130 North Winton Road in Rochester, New York. This is real simple to answer. Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Brian P. Green will refuse to answer. August 19th, 2026, Todd Baxter, Sheriff, 130 South Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York. Brian P. Green, District Attorney, 47 South 50th Street, Rochester, New York, 14614. What is the status of the 5 criminal complaints I wrote for 1, Richard J. Sieben, 2, Nayrod Shah, Layla Kumar Shah, 3, Laura Riley, 4, Antonio Spano, 5, Michael Houlihan. Answer. Christopher Chichester, 130 North Winton Road, Box 10184, Rochester, New York. Copy 2. Michael D. Giacomo, United States Attorney for the Western District of New York. Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. Todd Blanche, Attorney General. 5 attachments. 1 criminal complaint for Richard J. Sieben. 2, criminal complaint for Nayrod Shah and Layla Kumar Shah. 3, criminal complaint for Laura Riley. 4, criminal complaint for Antonio Spano. 5, criminal complaint for Michael Houlihan. So in 1 minute and 30 seconds, I just read this. I'm telling you, at the District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office, what's the status of these criminal complaints? The Sheriff definitely knows. To a lesser extent, the District Attorney's Office and the District Attorney know. District Attorney can ask the Sheriff, what happened? Was it just completely ignored and nothing happened? Or is the status that this was presented before the corrupt judge that I have been in front of, because I've been in front of 3 corrupt judges, and it was just dismissed? Because here are the criminal complaints. These are crimes here. It's not some fantasy land that occupies my mind, and I decided that these 5 people are criminals, and I wrote this language because it's not true. So Todd Baxter, this bald-headed, skin-headed, Benito Mussolini fascist, will concoct crimes for me where it's impossible for a prosecutor to make an argument in Penn Court, New York State Supreme Court, that I committed a crime. And then I'm delivered to jail because of these lies that are criminal complaints. So he concocts crimes for me. Prosecutor's completely silent. Can't make an argument I committed a crime because I haven't committed a crime. And then he's going to ignore what are real crimes. Where I say in the documentation, these are crimes on July 22nd, 2023. This is why he's corrupt. This is why he's a psychopath. This is why he's an extremist. This is why he's a degenerate. Sheriff Todd Baxter of Rochester, New York. He ignores the law. I'm going to write all 5 of these again. Tell me what the status is. Because you definitely know Perry Douglas in the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. To a lesser extent, you $140,000 public defender, Julie Sianka now. And I do not know if you watch me, you'll blow me off, but this is going to arrive. The language I'm going to write is going to be in this Gmail, and then I'm going to send it United States Postal Service, or Federal Express, or UPS to your offices, where you can see this YouTube here, which I believe I'm going to call Status. I don't know yet the title. And it's going to arrive in your office where I'm going to be in the language that I'm going to write after I get done here tonight, on this August 19th. I'm going to have additional language, 300 words, 400 words, 500 words. Well, I'm telling you, freaks and sociopaths and degenerates at the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office, Public Defender, to tell me what the status is. So, August 19th, 2025, this is where I arrived to, where I write innocent man. I got these cards here. July 22nd, 2023. Attached for 4 criminal complaints with this language. That Richard J. Sieben, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, walked in Penn Court, Penn, New York, ran into Christopher Chichester, slammed his arm into the head of Chichester, causing him to fall backwards and hit his head on the ceramic tile floor. 2, Nayrod and Layla Kumar Shah, 2033 Penn Road, Penn, New York, false reported incident of Christopher Chichester for only 26 seconds from drive is walking through a park in Express Readiness. 3, Antonio Spano, Fairport, New York, locked the front and back door of the residence, 26 seconds from drive, Penn, New York, without a court order. 4, Laura Rod, Webster, New York, transport the personal belongings of Christopher Chichester, 26 seconds from drive, Penn, New York, to a storage locker in Webster without a court order. These are crimes. Each individual will not be arrested and prosecuted. There was a 1 day in jail served. These crimes destroyed my life because you're incapable of identifying crime. You cannot crimes for innocent citizens. You hate the human condition. 2 links. YouTube rejection, 113-918, 42 cent Perry Douglas, 112-508, 75 cent Mark Monahan. YouTube unconstitutional on Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Sandra Jolie, Judge Alex Renzi resigned. So, Here's the language of Richard Seaman. I'm swearing he violently attacked me, and he did violently attack me, because I'm not lying about that. And Todd Baxter laws the law. That's my signature. That's Christopher and Price, the notary, the Myron Branch, the Rochester Public Library. I'm swearing at this Nayrod Shah false reported me walked through a parking lot in Pennsylvania, New York, at 26 next to 26 cents from Drive, where I used to live, the lunatic fringe. 20 people a day walk through this parking lot. This is the definition of false reporting an incident. This 50-year-old freak lives with his mother. So, Nayrod Shah, Lane Kumar Shah, 2030 Penford Road. I already read that, but that's the language right there. If Dr. Gloria Nichols was still my dentist at 2033 Penfield Road, I never would have spent one goddamn day in jail. He puts me on a radio screen. These freaks and degenerates and sociopaths, sheriff's office like Shannon Meyer. Shannon Meyer, warrant for my arrest for this parking lot that you can walk through the district attorney's office, sheriff's office, Penfield Town Court, New York State Supreme Court. You won't be arrested. Nothing's going to happen to you because you're a different kind of American than I am. I don't have equal protection laws because of Nayrod Shah, Layla Kumar Shah of Penfield, New York. So the side of my name here, saying a false reporter, that Todd Baxter is Antonio Spano. This is perhaps the easiest to understand. Locked door, locked me out without a court order. I'll talk more about that soon. Each one of these, I'm just going to be on YouTube for these criminal complaints. You're not going to write the criminal complaint again and go back to Christopher Price. I'm going to have additional language. Well, I'm going to write 300, 400, 500 words about why these are crimes. And he's still going to ignore the law. Swearing right there, that's a crime. Lock me out of my Reds. Laura Riley takes everything I own. My dress greens from 17 Cavalry, 101st Airborne Infantry are gone. Because of Laura Riley taking my things to a storage locker. She threw away my books. Because when Pepper Lisiski at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs took me to storage locker, my books were not in there. She threw away other things too. She's keeping things too. Did multiple crimes because of this here. But Laura Riley in Webster, New York, she still lives in Webster, and did to me. Well, I've known since I was 20 years old. So, these are crimes. He blows off the law. Just like he's going to ignore the fact that this freak cop, who had to be investigated by the Attorney General's office, Michael Houlihan, lied under oath. Criminal complaint, text for perjury. Criminal complaint for perjury, 73312 Michael Houlihan, the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office. The 73312 Michael C. Houlihan, the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, walked on the private property across the Reds 26 cents from Brian Penfield, New York, Christopher Chichester. That Houlihan ran to Chichester approximately 1 a.m. with $85,000 down bet at the Sheriff's Office. Chichester ran away from Houlihan and betted dead on unaware identities. Chichester grabbed the hammer alongside the Reds next to his bike, used to fix the bike's tire. As Chichester placed his foot on the first of 3 steps to the back porch, Houlihan grabbed his arm, the hammer in his hand, Chichester's hands for substance. Chichester ran across the back porch through a sliding glass door, and as Chichester never stopped running, it's possible to swing the hammer at 73312 Michael Houlihan. As Chichester never stopped running, it's impossible to swing the hammer at 73312 Michael Houlihan. You disgusting freaking psychopath. Former director of the grand jury, Michelle Crowley. Why don't you call me to the grand jury to testify? Why don't you pick up the phone and interview me on the phone? Why don't you call me down to the district attorney's office to interview me? Does the truth matter, District Attorney Brian P. Green? Why don't you ask Michelle Crowley to watch me now in 8 minutes these questions? Truth doesn't matter at all, ever. So on that August 19th, it also arrived. Registered mail return receipt off Federal Express on August 18th, what I just read. What is the status of my 5 criminal complaints? On August 17th, same language. What is the status of my 5 criminal complaints? Same language. What is the status of my 5 criminal complaints? August 16th. Same language. August 15th. What is the status of my 5 criminal complaints? 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, last 5 days. The law's a joke to Todd Baxter. I just don't use language to be hysterical and ridiculous. When I say the sheriff of Monroe County, the law's a joke to him, which means it's meaningless. The words on paper don't have the definition that they should have as far as the crime of the state of New York. The law's a joke to Sheriff Todd Baxter, which the last 5 days when he blows off and ignores what are real crimes and true crimes. That's why the law's a joke to Sheriff Todd Baxter. Not even on here for 10 minutes already. Todd, baby, I'm going to tell you where I am. Send Richard Seaman over here. This is where I am, Sheriff Todd Baxter, as I point to you with the official finger of Brooklyn, New York. So, Todd, I'm going to go out tomorrow morning for my run at 8 a.m. and have Richard Seaman wait out there. And then when I exit the residence here, or the large apartment building at 270 on East, and I walk onto South Union Street, and right before I start the run, have Richard Seaman run at me, slam me in the head. I'll fall down. My head will hit the concrete pavement. And this is called violence that you ignore. And this is also called the blue wall silence because you, Todd Baxter, are the disgusting, perverted, sick, walking and talking embodiment of the blue wall silence, where it doesn't matter to you that this freak cop who should be fucked in the ass at Attica State Prison violently attacked me at Penfield Public Library. What I also don't have, because of you, freak cop, Sheriff Todd Baxter, is my birth certificate here. Booth Memorial Hospital, Queens, New York, July 4, 1965. I had this birth certificate in my possession for 40 plus years. It's gone. I had to write the city of New York to get my birth certificate, and it arrived when I was in Farmington, New York, which I've already talked about, and I'm not going to again. President Lyndon B. Johnson was in New York City to Statue of Liberty on my birthday on July 4, 1965, when I was born at Booth Memorial Hospital. I love looking at that picture. President Lyndon B. Johnson. 4 volumes by Robert Caro. Probably the most consequential president of the 20th century, and not in a good way. So anyway, Sheriff Todd Baxter, you know what I don't have? Because of you, it really doesn't matter to you either, given your status, because you're a veteran. And E8. I was only in for 3 years, so I was only in E5. I'm 85 in 2 years. So I don't have my DD-214. That's gone. Talked about that. I don't have my air assault badge. I'm a 10-day graduate. I graduated 10-day United States Army Air Assault School. And I'm not going to read this again. I'll just read. First grad 4 years ago on August 28, 1985, aboard an airplane at LaGuardia Airport in New York City for a flight to El Paso, Texas. My first day of the United States Army basic training, Fort Bliss. It will last 10 weeks. A short period of time changes my life to clarify dedication, perseverance, commitment, and the determination to always pursue excellence. So my DD-214, which was given to me by the military personnel in April of 1988 when I drove home to Long Island on my 1980 Mercury Capri, is gone. And that is why I have been helped by, she was here yesterday, Morgan Sotier came to see me because I now have HUD-VASH. HUD, Housing and Urban Development, VASH, Veterans Affairs Supported Housing, because half my rent is paid by HUD-VASH that they help me with at the VA. She is terrific. Morgan Sotier at the VA, just like Lori Pepper-Lasiski at the VA is terrific. I'll tell you how she's terrific. Lori Pepper-Lasiski. She knew I was locked out at 26 Sandstorm Drive and knew everything was gone. So when I moved to 275 Park Avenue, not knowing I was also going to be locked out by Morton Properties, these landlords do whatever they want to. And I'm not some ridiculous tenant, because I was there for 30 months before this happened to me. And there are legitimate reasons where I'm approaching Morton Properties, and I'm in the process of leaving when I locked the door. So I'm locked out by Morton Properties. This is Lisa and Sandy, the landlords in Florida. And I've been locked out by Antonio Spano. So when I moved into 275 Park Avenue, Pepper came to see me. And it is a real small, tiny apartment. It's $600. She didn't have anything. And she bought me pots and pans and clothes and other items. Lori Pepper-Lasiski, United States Department of Veterans Affairs. She is a saint. I think of her just like I would an angel. Kelly Flores came to see me 2 days ago, too. I'm not going to go into reasons why. But they all have different jobs at the VA, especially on Calkins Road. So Kelly has been helping me with something. So I've been helped over and over and over by the VA, even though I don't have my DD-214 anymore. Just like I've been helped by the Veterans Outreach Center, where Sheriff Todd Baxter was once its director. They've helped me, too. So I'm in Farmington, New York. I used to go to Ken and Bryant. New York State Route 96, she would cut my hair. Farmington, New York. I'm in Farmington, New York because of Morton Properties. So there's a siren here in Rochester, New York. I'm on here at 14 minutes. Ridiculous fucking freak show of Rochester, New York. A siren after siren after siren. Rochester Police Department, Rochester Fire Department, this American Medical Response racket. It doesn't happen in Washington, D.C. and Albany, New York. There aren't 100 sirens going past where I lived at 111 C Street, Washington, D.C., or 600 Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C., or 157 Winthrop Avenue in Albany, New York, or 80 State Street in Albany, New York. So that's siren after siren after siren. So Daniel Decker had to get glasses because Richard Siegman broke my glasses. That's why I wanted to see Daniel Decker at Sterling Optical 6081 Route 96, Farmington, New York. So I've been helped over and over and over. It's start to understand, employees, because the criminal complaints, August 19th, there's your name, Sheriff Todd Baxter. The criminal complaints I just read here, where I have the date for you. That is August 19th. I'm going to arrive. And it's just not going to matter to you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, at all. That this language is right here. August 19th. This is August 19th. The law's a joke to the sheriff. Would you disagree with that? Michael Harrigan, Michelle Crowley, Lisa Gray of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office? I'm saying the sheriff of Monroe County, Todd Baxter, the law's a joke. He blows off the law. Law's meanings and words on paper. I just read the criminal complaints. I've told him over and over to tell me what the status is, and he's refusing. Perjurer Michael Houlihan. I've told him over and over Michael Houlihan lied under oath. I told him over and over Richard Siebert violently attacked me. Because here on January 22nd, 2023, YouTube perjurer, 73312 Michael Houlihan, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office of Violence, Sheriff Todd Baxter, and 75904 Richard Siebert. There are their names right there. Can you see these names here? William Tadeo, screenshot this and bring this to Sheriff Todd Baxter. So that's on January 22nd, 2023. Then 2 days later, your freaks, where I have the same links here, where it's called fanaticism on the 24th, the same links, perjurer and 73312 Michael Houlihan, violence, Sheriff Todd Baxter, 75904 Richard fanaticism. Your freaks, comply with the attached PDF dated January 24th, 2020, that is 70 Freedom of Information Law documents. This attached PDF will arrive in your office via registered mail return receipt. The United States Postal Service tomorrow. Mailing information, I demand the address below in Rochester, New York. This includes the names of my prosecutor's sons. I still don't know who it is. 70 Freedom of Information Law documents. He refused to comply with every single one. So the District Attorney Sandra Dorleys went to Pemberton Court. Alex Renzi, they refused to. So then 2 days after that, it's January 26, 2023, with the 5 links, fanaticism, perjury, violence, rejection, accountability again. So it's 3 times in this period from January 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. 3 times in this 5-day period, I'm telling Todd Baxter, and Michael Houlihan lied under oath. I'm telling Todd Baxter that Richard Siebert violently attacked me, and it's total silence from this skinhead stooge. Because the law's a joke to him. That's why. Just like the law's a joke to Perry Duckles, the 20-year super life at $113,000. Right here. I've read this repeatedly. January 1, 2023. Then I contacted you on January 1, 2024, January 1, 2025, and January 1, 2026, where I'm telling you those 4 times to disclose the names of my prosecutors to me, Perry Duckles. I'm not going to read this again. I'll be in court again. It's exactly right. I was in court again. Because I come on here and I inflame you freaks and psychopaths with the language that I use, which I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use language that enrages you freaks and psychopaths. So I'll be in court again. You're going to send me a document, force me to Alex Renzi or some other psychopath, some other Jonestown Kool-Aid drinker, and there I am going to be in jail right next to the murderers and the rapists, where you don't have to utter one goddamn word in a district attorney's office to make an argument that I belong in Monroe County Jail. Just told you why you're in Jonestown. You don't know. People in Jonestown, which is Jonestown, Guyana, under Jim Jones, when 938 of them drank the Kool-Aid, which was really flavoring, did not know that they were in a cult. They had no idea. Just like you don't know you're in a cult at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. You don't know you're in a cult at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. You have no idea. Because you all think the same way. That's why. That's just one reason why. But that certainly is the driving force. Reason why. Freedom of Information Law. All right, go to Patrick Printing on East Main Street. There's 200 here. The 80 that I said arrived, or 70 or thereabouts, on January 24, 2023. I'm going to write all those again. That exact time that I wrote those Freedom of Information documents on January 24, 2023. I'm going to write that language on here. I'm going to send all 70 Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Brian P. Green, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court, Paul C. Metzler, James Young Jr., Pemberton Court, and they're going to ignore every single one. The Freedom of Information Law has language that applies to the different employees of Penfield Town Court, New York State Supreme Court, and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Because Penfield Town Court can't tell me if Sheriff Todd Baxter is in violation of Title 7 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which governs sexual harassment. That's not Pembroke Town Court. And the Monroe County Sheriff's Office can't tell me how many defendants have been acquitted in Pembroke Town Court and provide me a list. So the Freedom of Information Law, when it's 70, has different language for different public employees. And every single one of those public employees ignores the law. Another one of those vehicles there in 2021, my former employer, the New York State Legislature, changed state law to make it illegal to enhance sound of a vehicle, which happens all the time on South Union Street. And RPD Chief David Smith doesn't enforce vehicle and traffic laws because he's a corrupt freaking stooge. Sheriff Todd Bagger doesn't enforce vehicle and traffic laws because he's not in Rochester, New York, which I'm in the process of writing that language to tell the New York State Legislature and tell the United States Department of Justice there's crime and violence everywhere. Sheriff Todd Bagger, as I've posted on his Facebook and other places too, like Nikki Rudd's Facebook, he should call himself Sheriff of Monroe County minus Rochester, New York. And I'm not trying to be funny. That's exactly what his title, that's accuracy. You can be funny and be accurate. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm telling you, employees, the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, this freaking psychopath, degenerate sheriff is not in Rochester, New York. So he is, in fact, the sheriff of Monroe County minus Rochester, New York. And there's a siren, lunatic fringe, just as I was talking about. That's probably AMR or the 99% white KKK Rochester Fire Department or RPD going somewhere where it's not an emergency. Rochester Police Department, I'm convinced, is the most corrupt police department in all of New York, with that 24/7 disgusting sick presence at East Avenue Wegmans. They're at the Rochester Public Market. I go to a Rochester Red Wings game. There's the RPD vehicle. I go to Blue Cross Arena. There's the RPD vehicle. They're constantly in places where they don't belong. I walked by the Liberty Pole 2 weeks ago, and this has happened at least 100 times. There's 4 or 5 vehicles right there at the Liberty Pole. All that crime and violence going on Avenue D, North Clinton Avenue, all that whole area, I think it's called the Upper Falls up there, all that violence up there with all those freaks and psychopaths, Vickers murdered Anthony Mazurkiewicz, they're at the Liberty Pole. Just like I take photographs of them in this parking lot at South Union Street and East Avenue, where all these bars and restaurants are, every single night, or almost every single night, probably 3 or 4 times a week, I should say. They park 5 or 6 vehicles, and they just sit there in the parking lot socializing with each other. The most recent photograph I took of this, I'll perhaps have on here tonight. I'm going to be on here soon about how the Rochester Police Department parks in places where there's no criminal act. And I'm going to hold up 100 photos that I took at the market, at Rochester Red Wings games, at Wegmans, and other places like the Lilac Festival. I went to the Lilac Festival 2 years ago. There were 15 RPD vehicles there. And I know that there are young people there getting, how should I say? I don't want to say riot, but there is a problem with young people. But it doesn't justify a presence of, I think, 30 Rochester Police Department officers at the Lilac Festival. And their job is not pre-crime, where it's this Orwellian type of ridiculous, ludicrous, corrupt mindset. We need to be here to prevent crimes because that just makes them your babysitters. Rochester Police Department is the babysitter, the official babysitter of citizens in Rochester, New York. So let's just drive somewhere and park and stare at people at a public event. That's why every time there's some event at Parcel 5, there are these freaks and psychopaths and fucking degenerates at Rochester Police Department right there in Parcel 5, staring at everybody at the event in Parcel 5. This doesn't happen in Albany, New York, and Washington, D.C. When I would go to the Empire State Plaza for event after event after event, because I lived in Albany County for 10 years. The Albany Police Department is not there, neither is the Albany Sheriff's Office. When I would walk on the National Mall, where I've been to event after event, and my ex-girlfriend at the time, her and I used to walk down the mall, I'm not seeing Washington, D.C. police everywhere in the mall, because the Washington, D.C. police knows where the real crime and violence is, which is in Northeast. It's not on the mall. But the Rochester Police Department is totally clueless about where criminal acts and crimes are committed because they're afraid of criminals. So, who is it? I'm on here 24 minutes. Tell me who it is. So, I say tell me who it is. I did not write the Freedom of Information Law today, but I'm telling you to tell me who it is because over and over, I have told you to tell me who it is. July 13, 2026, this is why District Attorney Brian P. Green is corrupt. Documentation for the case for Christopher Childs, Pembroke Town Court for John P. Menzel Jr. was the name of the prosecutor. prosecutor Sandra Dory. Documentation for the case of Christopher Charges in Pennsylvania Court for Paul C. Messer. What is the name of the prosecutor Sandra Dory? Documentation for the case of Christopher Charges in New York State Supreme Court for Alex Renzi. What is the name of the prosecutor Sandra Dory? I think that's a typo there by me. I'm not perfect. But right here, Brian P. Green. So he didn't get it. Excuse me, he did get that. Here. So this is why I sent it when it's more accurate without that typo. Documentation of Christopher Chichester, June 20, 2026. Documentation case of Christopher Chichester, John P. Menzel Jr. Downtown Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Brian B. Green. Documentation case of Christopher Chichester, Paul C. Messer, Downtown Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Brian P. Green. Documentation case of Christopher Chichester, Alex Renzi, Supreme Court. What is the name of the prosecutor? District Attorney Brian P. Green. June 20, 2 months ago. This is why he's corrupt. Lee LaRoque here. The psychopathic freak, obscene, Todd Baxter, Sandra Dory, Alex Renzi, right there. Tell you 40+ pounds overweight, $97,000 fellow psychopath. That's Lee LaRoque to mail my Acer Chromebook to the address listed below my name, Sheriff Baxter. What you failed to understand, what I told you to do, you party switching, Guido Mussolini train wreck. This is an illegal search and seizure with a ridiculous document typed in Pennsylvania Court by $28,000 hack and fossil Paul C. Messer. There's no probable cause to confiscate my Acer Chromebook from my former residence, 26 Sandstrom Drive in Penn, New York, or anything. Tell you 113 918 94 cent First District Attorney Perry Douglas to mail the names on prosecutor silence to that same address, you pathetic party switching Mike Nifon clone, District Attorney Dorley. He will refuse. You will continue to refuse to disclose the names on prosecutor silence and taxpayer fines public receiving that's court because you're corrupt, District Attorney Dorley. Just exactly right. This is July 6, 2023, more than 3 years ago. I still don't know who it is. This has arrived, this exact document has arrived 50+ times. Then I updated the Freedom of Information Law with that date that I wrote it. Time after time after time, 100 times, 150 times. I have to check my PDF file and my Gmail hard drive. Don't know exactly how many times. It's hundreds of times. It could be 300 times. I don't know. Since July 6, 2023. Because that's more than 1,000 days. Are you confused why you're corrupt? Are you really? Do you think that you exist at the district attorney's office with the highest standards of ethics and morality? This is 3 years ago. Over and over, I'm telling you. Disclose information you have and you'll possess. You have this. So do you, $140,000 public defender, Julie Sianka. You have it. So you refused every single time. Right here, June 19, 2023. Sometime I'll just write what's not to understand. I'll include all this documentation is for 2023. But the sheriff of Monroe County ignored it every time. Perry Douglas and Mark Monahan, there's the Freedom of Information Law on July 20th, 2023. You ignored it. July 19th, 2023, that's for Sandra Dorley. Same thing, Freedom of Information Law. I wrote it. It's attached in this documentation 3 years ago. District Attorney Sandra Dorley. July 18th, 2023. Went to the district attorney's office. Sandra Dolan was still in office. She ignored it. July 16, 2023. Freedom of Information Law went to the district attorney's office, sheriff's office. July 15, 2023. Blue Wall Silence protects Richard Seidman. Here. July 15, 2023. Todd Baxter, Sheriff, 137 Plymouth Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14614. Your violent psychopath employee, $75 for Richard Seidman stalked me into the Penn Public Library. I stood up at the computer terminal. Seidman ran at me, slammed his arm inside of my head. I fell backwards. My head hit the ceramic tile floor. This violence is relevant to you. Embrace violence because your fellow psychopath and criminal will not be fired. When I write a criminal complaint that will have details of assault by Seidman, he will not be arrested or prosecuted. Nothing will happen to your taxpayer subsidized sociopath that must undergo an immediate mental health examination. He will attack everyone in citizens. Did you order Seidman to stalk me into the library? Were you informed about his disgusting predatory behavior? Did you have no knowledge about his fanaticism? You refused to answer, resign. 3 years ago. On July 15, 2024, a year later, I wrote to Todd Baxter, I had nothing. On July 15, 2025, I wrote to Todd Baxter, I had nothing. On July 15, 2026, I wrote to Todd Baxter, I had nothing. When I acquire the payroll again, Richard Seidman is going to be on there. And violence is embraced by Sheriff Todd Baxter. He loves violence. Because Richard Seidman hasn't been fired. That's why. Just like Michael Houlihan, a perjurer, hasn't been fired. Violent psychopaths and freaks. Richard Seidman. He's still employed. A perjurer, Michael Houlihan, he's still employed. A freak like Shannon Meyer had a warrant for my arrest for a parking lot in Penn, New York. I've walked through 4,000 times. She's still employed. Don Benedetto and Michael Houlihan both hiding on private property. from me, stalking me in Pemberton, New York, they're still employed. He loves surrounding himself with freaks. July 13, 2023 for Sandra Dorley. February 16, 2023. I'm telling Todd Baxter, Sheriff Todd Baxter, $16,000 pay raise freak, 83-291-42, as I now hit 30 minutes here. For 30 minutes, 30 plus minutes, I'm on here about her. And it doesn't matter to him. Because the blue wall silence is being used by Todd Baxter to protect his freak, Shannon Meyer, a warrant for my arrest for a parking lot in Penfield, New York. I've walked through 4,000 times, but not anybody else, including Penfield High School students. Because Penfield High School students are a different type of American than me. So he surrounds himself, Sheriff Todd Baxter, with the most disgusting, sick, nauseating, repulsive freaks and psychopaths I've ever encountered in my life. February 9, 2023, Sandra Dorley, she ignores the law, freedom of information law is in there. My correspondence to Robert J. Valenti at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, where I'm thanking him for helping me over and over. Then I'm back here to February 5th, 2023. Last one, information. Comply with the attachments to Sandra Dorley. Comply with the attached freedom of information law documents mailed and as my prosecutor signed to my court appearance. He listed below in Rochester, New York. Sandra Dorley refused. This arrived on June 19, 2026, 2 months ago. Todd Baxter and Sheriff Todd Baxter, District Attorney Brian P. Green refused to comply with the law because Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Brian P. Green are obscene. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been an innocent man my whole life.